Welcome to Voice of the Nation. UK is now in the process of selecting a new Prime Minister after Boris Johnson announced his resignation, but he is going to remain as a Prime Minister until the new Prime Minister is officially selected. Today, we are going to talk about the legacy of Boris Johnson and what will happen to UK after he resigns. Our guest today is a longtime good friend of Boris Johnson himself. They went to college and university together. He is also a very important political figure here in Thailand. Please welcome former leader of Democrat Party and ex-Prime Minister of Thailand, คุณอภิสิทธิ์เวชชาชีวะ สวัสดีครับคุณอภิสิทธิ์
สวัสดีครับ
Thank you very much for coming to our program.
Pleasure.
You and Boris Johnson have been friends for a very long time. Do you still keep in touch with him from time to time?
The last time we met was when he was foreign secretary and he visited Thailand. We had a meeting to discuss both public and private matters. But since he became prime minister, I have not been in touch with him. And of course, not since his resignation either.
Okay, and Boris Johnson announcing his resignation as a UK prime minister 2 weeks ago after so many scandals and political turbulence. Media in UK say that he lacked of leadership quality. What do you think about that?
I don't think the main problem is actually one of leadership. I think we can discuss what he's done and what he's succeeded and failed to do. But the real issue that I think led to his downfall is one of trust and integrity. And this follows from scandal after scandal, particularly what's called the Partygate, where he broke the rules that he himself imposed upon the rest of the population during lockdown and COVID. And the last straw was, of course, the scandal involving somebody he appointed as deputy chief whip. So it's really more a question of trust and honesty and integrity. And so that's something that I think British politics in general holds as important values. So the resignation that we've seen from Boris Johnson, we have seen in the past for so many politicians when they get caught up in scandal.
Okay, and Johnson, he became a prime minister in a very difficult time. He became a prime minister in 2019, the year that COVID-19 arrived. What do you think about his leadership during this difficult time?
Well, certainly, I think for any leader over the last 2-3 years, it's been difficult. The COVID and then followed by now the war and economic problems. But what Boris was put into office, the situation under which he became prime minister was very much to do with Brexit, where his predecessor appeared to stall or fail to actually deliver Brexit according to the result of the referendum. Boris himself, of course, was pro-Brexit during the referendum, and he basically pitched himself as someone who could lead the country by getting Brexit done, which I think he did. Whether it's a good thing, whether there are remaining problems, there's no dispute about that. But the fact is he got it done. And at the same time, his handling of the pandemic, while it was criticized at first, he could also point to the fact that he managed the fastest rollout of vaccines compared to the States or to the rest of Europe. And for a time being, it looked as though the British economy, the UK economy was doing okay as well. So I think that is what he would point to as his achievements. And in particular, since the invasion of the Ukraine, he has been very vocal and I think at the forefront. I think he was probably the first foreign leader to visit the Ukraine. So he would say that that would also demonstrate his leadership. So as far as the main challenges are concerned, the pandemic, Brexit, the Ukraine situation, I think his position was clear, and he was able to deliver a number of results. And whether you agree with that depends on your political point of view. So he would always say, I mean, if you watch British Parliament, when he answers questions from the opposition leader, that he gets the big calls or the big decisions right. That's always his claim. And that was his attempt to try to counter all the criticism surrounding the scandal that he was involved in. But in the end, it wasn't enough because, as I said, I think as far as British politics is concerned, it's still very important to show that you are honest, trustworthy, and have the integrity to be a leader.
Okay, and we know that you and Mr. Johnson is a good friend since you were in college at Eton and Oxford together. Can you tell us what he was like back then in school?
I've always answered this question very simply, that he's exactly as you still see him. So his hairstyle, his mannerism, his use of words, and so on. He was always a very colorful character, somebody that has the charm for people who are friends with him. So he was a very popular and also a very intelligent person.
Okay, and his hair was also like that back in school?
That's right. And I should say, to balance things out, that the weaknesses that we've seen in terms of this issue of trust and integrity and whatever, that's always been a problem as well. He seems to be able to use his charm to sort of bend the rules or break the rules, and often gets away with it.
Okay, and after graduation, Boris Johnson came to Thailand and stayed at your place for a few weeks. What can you remember about his stay in Thailand?
Actually, it was between school and university, because students that go to Oxford and Cambridge have this, what we call a gap year, where you get admitted to the university in December, but do not have to start until the next October. So he was on his way to Australia. He came to Thailand. He knew me, so he stayed at my house. One of the stories that we still find very funny was, he was sleeping in my house. And in those days, even in Sukhumvit, you hear a lot of noises from odd animals, including bullfrogs.
I'm sorry?
Bullfrogs.
Okay. Yep.
And I remember him just sort of rushing out of his bedroom and trying to find where cows are.
Okay.
He was hearing cows and was very very puzzled where they would be.
Okay, like something he doesn't heard before from UK.
That's right.
And when we think about Boris Johnson, most people will probably think about the way he looked, especially his hairstyle, and he looks very different from other politicians or other world leaders. But we could say that he was also one of the most memorable and successful politicians in UK. What do you think is his secret of success?
Well, I think, as I said before, he's a very colorful character. So I don't think anyone who'd seen him would forget him. So he has these personal qualities that sets him apart. In fact, not just from politicians, but from other people in general. So, and as I said before, he's a very intelligent person. He's actually top of our class in my time at school. People don't often appreciate that because they often kind of compare him to Donald Trump.
Yes,
but they're very different intellectually. So Johnson was actually a very intelligent student and also a very learned, well-read person. Has a very, very, very eloquent, and I think his special characteristics allow him to thrust himself into the limelight, whatever he does. And because it sets him apart from other politicians, there's always that value of freshness. You will see, characters like this in many countries who can rise up through politics because of their special feel of being, like an outsider, not your typical politician.
Okay.
That always has an appeal to the general public. And so he has used that well. So, for instance, he was able to become mayor of London, despite running with the Conservative Party, because London usually elects Labour local politicians. And again, when the Conservative Party was either in trouble, like just before he came to be Prime Minister, I think people were looking for something different. And so that's how he succeeded. And indeed, when he called the last general election, he was able to win in constituencies that the Conservative Party hasn't won for a long time. So that's, I think, has served him very well all along. But then again, it's the very same qualities, the feeling that he could be different and get away with things that other people couldn't get away with, that in the end also led to his downfall.
Okay. And as Mr. Johnson will resign from his position soon, do you have any message you would like to pass along to him?
Well, not really, because I don't think we've seen the last of him.
Okay.
I just have this feeling that he will continue to play a very significant role one way or another, whether inside or outside politics.
Okay. And
I remember when we met last time, he was complaining that he hasn't become Prime Minister yet, and that he was something like 10 years behind me. So all I can say now is that he's made it, but in the end, he has to take responsibilities for what he does.
Okay, and now the process of selecting a new leader of the Conservative Party is underway, and right now there are 3 nominators left in the final race, and will be 2 soon. Do you have a favorite nominator that you would like to see he or she become a new Prime Minister of UK?
I don't really, but I can see what each candidate offers. In Rishi Sunak, you have somebody who obviously has the experience, having been Chancellor, which is a very, I guess, probably next important post from the Prime Minister. But Rishi is now being held back by the sense of members of the Conservative Party who eventually will elect a new leader, that somehow he was rather too active in bringing the downfall of Boris Johnson. So I guess there's a bit of a question mark about loyalty. And I can't help feeling, judging from recent days, that the Conservative Party members are concerned that whatever shortfall Boris Johnson had, and there's no denying that in their eyes he had to go. In order 3 candidates, they don't think they have somebody as popular and as appealing as Boris when they go to elections. But Rishi Sunak offers the experience. Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, also can say that she has a lot of experience. But she's also trying to differentiate herself from Rishi by offering a new look or new agenda on the economy. Although it's debatable whether her ideas of trying to cut taxes and so on would actually work, given the risk of inflation. Penny Mordaunt is probably the one that can claim to have a cleaner break from Boris Johnson than the other 2. But again, she would be viewed as being inexperienced. The speculation or the analysis is that when we're down to 2 candidates, it will be Rishi and one of the ladies. And as they go into the final vote, which will be among all Conservative members in the UK, Rishi would then change status from a favorite to an underdog, because polls appear to suggest that he would actually be behind either of the other candidates, despite having most support from the MPs.
Okay. And once the new Prime Minister of UK is selected, that somewhere around September, what do you think will be his or her greatest challenge? As this is not an easy time to become a Prime Minister of UK, because there are a lot of problems, COVID-19 still there, inflation, and also issue about war in Ukraine.
Actually, if they were in place today, the biggest problem appears to be the heat that
Yes.
is sweeping through the UK and Europe, unprecedented level. But my guess is that the real focus will be on the economy, because inflation is high. People are feeling the pain from the cost of living problems.
Yes.
They are facing strikes from public sector workers who demand pay rises to catch up with inflation. And of course, the economy is not doing well. There's low growth. And of course, like other countries as well, there's not that much fiscal space left to try to tackle that by stimulating the economy through government expenditures. So I think that's the biggest problem. I don't see any change in terms of foreign policy. In that, I think the UK stands firm with the Ukraine. Interestingly, for us, since we're going to host APEC,
Yes.
Liz Truss appears to be the one candidate that says that she will actually try to confront Putin if he comes to APEC, whereas I think the others would probably walk out in the same way that other Western leaders have walked out of various meetings when the Russian representation is there. So generally, I think the economy is the biggest challenge. Foreign policy, I think you'll see the UK still firmly supporting Ukraine, probably leading that support in Europe as well. And Brexit, I don't think that there'll be any change on that. I think all the candidates are committed to carrying out agreements concerning Brexit, getting Brexit done, because they feel that that's according to the wishes of people expressed in a referendum.
Okay. And my last question, you are also an ex-prime minister of Thailand. I and also a lot of other people may not be able to imagine what it is like to be a prime minister, to be a leader of a country. Can you tell us what it's like? I mean, what's it like how you imagine before you became a prime minister?
Well, it's easier to answer the second question. I've been fascinated, interested in politics and wanting to go into politics since a very young age. And so I've had some experience, and I am a career politician. So I have been through, various positions in parliament, in government, in opposition. So I pretty much have a good idea of what the job involves. And that's always been my argument, that people here maybe don't see value in career politicians as they should, because I think at various positions, particularly top positions in politics, you do need special or skills that are specific to the job. But the job is also something that you can define yourself, because you can set your own priorities. My time was during a twin crisis of both the global financial crisis and also the political crisis here. So my job was really trying to get the country through those two crises. I thought I handled the economy and managed the recovery quite well. But the political crisis, unfortunately, is still with us. But so, you can't say in general what the job will involve. It will depend on the circumstances. It depends also on the person that will also define not just the substance but that style of leadership. And there's room for differences and diversity there.
Okay, and we know that you did a very good job as a Prime Minister of Thailand, and we will wait and see that who is going to be the new Prime Minister of UK soon. Thank you คุณ Abhisit for talking with us today.
It's a pleasure. You're welcome.
สวัสดีครับ
ครับ
And that's all for Voice of the Nation today. Thank you for staying with us.